client bought a Vox AC30C2X from Guitar Center and had it shipped to me. I'm doing the initial inspection to see what the condition of the amp is before we do any work. Got that return window if we need to with Guitar Center. I can tell you, as the amp arrived, it did not have a reverb tank, did not have a bottom rear panel, and was missing the feet. Someone had drilled holes here for casters, which have since been removed, and it was missing all 8 of the corner protectors, which is very strange. So at the very least, we're going to see about getting replacements for all those from Guitar Center, because they are a Vox dealer, and they will have the magic phone numbers that I do not have. I'm removing the 4 wood screws here that you're seeing. I've already removed all the machine screws. Sorry, it's hard to do this on the camera. Four wood screws. Now wood screws look like that, and they go here, 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 and here. All the other screws that hold this panel in place, are all the ones from here up, are machine screws. And I'm pointing this out because people mix them up. And a wood screw will screw the hell, no pun intended, out of a receptacle, a threaded insert for a machine screw, and a machine screw will not grab wood. So if you have one of these models, and you take the rear panel off to change tubes, don't mix up what's wood and what's machine. Alright, so the rear panel's off. Let's see what condition this amp is in. It's missing the reverb tank, which is really odd. It's got a G12H30 and a blue, which is a really nice combination. Let me see. Was this a C2 or a C2X originally? So this was a C2 originally, which would have had a pair of greenbacks. So the C2X comes with a pair of blues. This combination of a blue and a G12H30 is really great, and I will make sure that it's all wired correctly later. It doesn't have the tube cover there. It doesn't matter that much. Let's see what the tubes are. JJ. Someone lost the little heat shrink things that hold the tips of their springs to the tips of the tubes. So 2 JJ labeled JJs and a Ruby Chinese. No problem with any of that, unless they're not working right. Let's look at the output tubes it came with. EH, EH, EH. Hopefully this one's also EH. Okay, you want to have them all matched. Now just because they're all the same brand doesn't mean that they're all matched, but it's looking pretty good. I'll verify that they're matched. None of them have any discoloration on them, so that's a good sign that they have not been roasting to death. There's some dust on things in here. Looks like this amp's been in storage for a while, so I will bring it up slowly on a variac and a current limiter just in case any of these caps have dried out, though I doubt it. It's still a relatively new amp. Everything in there looks stock. It's never been molested, so that's good. I'm about to do a similar video on the Custom Classic because I've got one that came in and the client says it fizzles out. And 9 times out of 10 on a Custom Classic, it's the fuses, which are really difficult to get to on that amp. I'll show you. On this amp, the fuses are easy. There's the main fuse here, and then there's some other fuses here and here on the board. That one looks a little bit dark. I'll double check that in a little while. But aside from the missing rear bottom panel, the missing reverb tank, the missing corner protectors, the missing feet, this amp seems to be in really good condition. So none of this is automatically a deal breaker. And given that Guitar Center is a Vox dealer and they can contact the distributor, I'd like 8 new corner protectors, a new rear panel, some new feet, please, and credit towards the reverb tank. Instead of putting in the Belton that was original in there, I'd rather put in an MOD or Mojo Tone, which is a better sounding tank. But I happen to know what he paid for this. I think he got a really good price, even with the weird missing things. He knew that there was a couple of missing corner protectors. He did not know about the missing reverb tank or the missing bottom panel. So I think he will have a good amount of leverage with Guitar Center, and I will write a letter itemizing everything that I found like that. But overall, this is a good news purchase. Okay, I'm continuing the investigation. I brought it up slowly on a Variac, and it does power up, but I had no connectivity to ground. The speakers are good, had no output signal, and neither of these wires coming out of here are at ground, and there's something funky looking back here. I can't quite make out with it in place, so let me pull this little PCB that has the output jacks on it and see what someone did. Alright, the amp powered up okay, but I had no output. And measuring from each connection on the speaker wire to the other reads as a short. It should not. So this is the tip normal connection of this, and this is where the positive should be. So this should be the positive with the red stripe, and the negative should be going to here, which is the negative connection on the board. So the negative is connected actually to the positive connection on the board. This is where the positive comes in from the output transformer secondary, and this is where the negative comes in from the output transformer secondary. And this is where the positive wire for the speakers used to connect and still should, but here's where they goofed. They soldered the negative to the positive rather than to the negative, which tells me that this amp did not work for anyone at Guitar Center, and this amp was never tested. So, easy fix. All I've got to do is connect this wire to here, or better yet, reconnect it to this terminal, and all of a sudden we'll magically have sound. This kind of shoddy work hurts my feelings because if you don't know how to read a PCB, don't work on a PCB. If you do work on an amp and it was working before you tried to fix it, and after you fixed it, quote fixed, there's no sound, stop saying that you work on amps. Now this would have still worked if someone had used the external connection as opposed to the extension or internal. And so that tells me what they did. They hooked this up. They must have pulled the old wire and broken it. They hooked this up, and they didn't test it. They were just using the external speaker connection. So that's a bad tech there, whatever. But that Guitar Center didn't check this. That's not a good look, guys. That's really not a good look. All right. With the speaker connections made properly, well, I did a quick and dirty thing. If the owner keeps this amp and has me do all the work, I'll do that properly. But right now, it's at least connected to the right places. The amp has sound. Dirty pot. Dirty pot. Not too bad. Dirty pot. No reverb. Tremolo works. All right. Normal channel does not work. Let's find out why. Okay, I figured out what's going on here. Son of a bitch. Some genius looked on the internet and did the Lyle Caldwell mod to this. I know, the irony is smacking me upside the face. And they didn't do much of what I suggest. And crucially, they didn't get it right. Now, I'm not going to poke in here because it's a live amp. But right here is the plate resistor. And they changed it out for a 220K. It's a 1 watt, no big deal. I'm not sure if they did a very good job of that. I won't know until I pull the board. But up here, there's a resistor called, what's it called in this model? R13. R13 is a 330K resistor in series with the normal channel volume. And it's always limiting the gain available there. And I have told people that if you want more gain, like you would get in the normal version of an AC30 from the JMI era, to jumper that resistor. Well, whoever did this didn't jumper the resistor, they snipped the resistor out. So there is no connection to the input of this volume pot. And it sounds like the pot's very dirty and maybe it's got some broken solder joints. So, none of this matters that much unless he just gets some out of Guitar Center and wants his money back, because all this stuff is stuff that I fix in the process of doing what I do. So this is not a deal breaker, but I just want to stress that between the missing parts that Guitar Center did not tell them about, the fact that the output speaker was miswired so this amp could have never have been played through these speakers at Guitar Center, and that the normal channel does not work at all. I'm expecting he needs to get a pretty good size rebate on what he purchased, and I'll write the proper letter to help that along. The top boost channel, really briefly, full master volume. It all seems to be pretty close to how they're supposed to sound in stock form, aside from a little bit of the high noise floor from dirty pots and stuff. But that can all go away. So be fun to watch this one go from the dog's dinner that arrived today to what it's going to be in 5 days or so when everything's done.